Hey everyone. Welcome to this session. It's a session about leading for change, and who better to talk about this than Jayen? Jayen Desai has been in leadership role for over 30 plus years. He has global experience across consulting, engineering, technology organizations. He has worked in new product development, product process optimizations, time to market, and also in newer geographies. Currently, Jayan is a Senior Director of Strategy and Transformation at VMware India. He also holds the key charter, being part of India leadership team to drive the organization to the next level of maturity. He acts as Chief of Staff for India Site Leadership. He's also leading the industry's first sustainability ecosystem partnership, which is across different organizations. So, Jayan, welcome. We have Samanvitha. Samanvitha will be moderating this talk. Samanvitha is a dear friend, and I know her from many years, and I know her for her passion at work and amazing speaking skills. So, Samanvitha is a senior engineering manager at VMware and works for Cloud Infrastructure Business Group. She has over 17 years of engineering leadership, product architecture, and development experience. She is a lifelong learner, voracious reader, and a firm believer in having a growth mindset. So, welcome, Samanvitha and Jain. Over to you.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Deepthi. Always a pleasure connecting with you, and looking forward to this session. Hey everyone, let me start off with a quick brain teaser. And if you happen to know what I'm talking about, please feel free to put in your answers in the chat window. So I want to start talking about a very audacious space program that was successfully launched by India in the year 2013. This required some of the best minds that India can offer. And another aspect to be proud of is that 27% of the team comprised of women. If you guessed what I'm talking about, it is Mangalyaan mission from India. So if you have to pull off something of this magnitude, it requires great leaders and, more importantly, far greater personal leadership from each and every team member. This mission is actually a wonderful example of what it really means to lead for a change. And I think we have the right person to discuss this with us. Hi, Jane, welcome back. So let me start off. When we talk about leading for change, it could mean different things in various contexts. So now, can you put this in perspective and let's contextualize it to the current times that we are in? Can you help us understand what it means in the current times and in the current work environment that we're all dealing with?
First of all, good afternoon, folks, and thanks for coming in on a Friday afternoon. And pleasure to have a host like Sanvitha. She's an inspiration in her own self. Uh, I want to just set the context because since morning we have heard some great leadership talks. If you have not probably seen all of it, really encourage you to see the CXO panel, personal life stories. And the session before this, my dear colleague and a friend for life, Anita, talking about life changing transformations. I'm going to focus today mainly around when we talk about change, right? It's about nation, organization, people. And a lot is being discussed today in the realm of all of these three as we hear around, as we listen to people, as we listen to the talks since morning. One area which I have observed in my journey is what I would like to focus, which is the people part. And I'm very consciously choosing this as a topic for two reasons: the theme for women who code, and the second is this is an area which probably, if handled well, can be a career change or inflection point. And a lot of my friends on the call today, moving into managerial roles, moving into leadership roles, or aspiring to set a career as leaders, I thought it is duly justified for the time they are spending. So I'm going to focus more on the people part of discussion today.
Mhm. Sure.
Yeah.
Yep. So, thanks so much, Jane, for setting the context. And let's talk about change, right? Whenever there's a change that's going to happen, we many of us would have heard of what is known as the change curve. It beautifully captures the various emotions that people go through when faced with a new change. So it starts with shock. There could be some denial. There is anger, and slowly it moves to the positive side, which is you try to accept it and then finally integrate with the change. So, what do you think as leaders? What can we do to help people as they try to navigate a change that's confronting them?
Beautiful question. I'm going to use because my mind always works as a framework. So pardon me for that, but it makes things simpler. I'm going to refer to one of a professor at Harvard, my alma mater, where I did my part of my schooling. Yeah, and I'm going to refer to something very relatable things to how I have shaped my career, right? And I'm going to leave some tips. I love to have more conversations too as we get into the Q&A. But the first and the foremost is change is a threat when I am being reflective of it. But if you are driving the opportunity yourself, it is no longer a change. And this is a very big mental block. If you wait for the change to come,
Mhm.
it you will have a lot of aspirations, lot of concerns, lot of anxiety. But what if you are leading the change?
Right.
And here, just for the context of my teammates and dear friends who have joined, I'm not talking about leader by title. I'm talking about leadership at any level whatsoever, both in professional life, personal life, community life, doesn't matter. So the first principle is around be the change. What if you are leading the change? And I'll give a very simple example so that it's relatable just after lunch.
Mhm.
Three times in my career, there were turning points. You saw Anita's graph if you were attending the previous session. The first and the foremost, few years into my career, I was seeing an opportunity to get the best and the top of the line electronic manufacturing to India. Never seen before, never done before, no template, no mentors. Just raised my hand, and that time I was just an R&D engineer. Raised my hand, got the technology transfer, set up a plant, which then became a benchmark for industry to follow. Second role, drove the three largest tech industry transformation at a global scale when I was not even ready for it. I probably was not even qualified when I raised my hand to bid for that job. And that brought me to this lovely company at VMware. And all three of my professional journeys of a decade each, I can say with confidence, and my HR folks, leaders are on the call maybe today, there was never a job description. When I left, I created one. That sums up as to what I said as the first principle. Why can't you be the change? And I'm not talking I'm becoming I'm talking about through my career. So if I hope that helps. The second, any journey, right? Any change journey, personal, especially when it comes to career inflections, challenges, not satisfied with your job, moving from manager to leader, counting the number of years you have spent in a role, you want to go to the next level, break it down. Break down your career journey into milestones and prepare for it. There is no free ride. I've learned it and I've seen people around. Some part of your career, you may get a very good mentor, a very good manager, but you will be lucky if you see that all through. It's not. It's a wishful thinking. So break down the goals, break down the time horizon, and set up some milestones for you. And if you miss it, it is fine. Analyze why you missed it, and were there any learnings. And I'll share some thoughts. Every failure is an opportunity.
Yep.
Yeah. If I hope I'm cutting across to the team, I'm making it very simple. But if anybody wants examples, more than happy. The third thing is, if you don't know where you are destined to go, it's sometimes difficult, right? Look at the changes around today. The macroeconomic picture, it's completely changed in last 5 years. The pandemic had its own. Organizations through their own portfolios are changing never before. Fintech, tech, medtech, edutech, everything is getting a combination, a collaboration effort. Nobody would have thought of this 7 years back. So when you don't know where you're going, picturize, visualize where you believe the end state is, and then start working towards it. The fourth is, change is a campaign and not a decision. This is very, very important. Uh, a nice example, we all make New Year resolutions. I'll go to the gym, I'll walk 10,000 steps, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do yoga. But you have to start. And that's why I say it's a campaign. And with the campaign, get in the constant communication which requires, talk to your peers, talk to your, I'm going to touch upon a point later. Create your circle of influence, create your well-wishers, allies, both at work, outside, set milestones, set reminders, and most importantly, reward yourself, right? And there's a very thin line between being arrogant, being bragful, versus taking pride on what you have achieved. I would lean towards saying take pride and celebrate every milestone. Fifth, you will always come across decision points at every step. Career, mentoring, roles, projects, what to do, when to say no. I call it a fork. When you're driving, walking, you come at a fork, just take it. Take one of them. Make your best guess judgment and take it. Because even if you have to return, you at least have the pleasure that I tried, and you can change course. Sitting at the fork and not doing anything is not an option. Yeah. Sixth, a lot of people will be naysayers. There will be noises as you embark on your journey. Everything is a failure till you complete it, remember. So only you know, or you don't know whether you will meet success. So why listen to the noise? Remove that noise from your system. And I know this is going to be a contradictory statement later from me, but when I say cut the noise, go with people who believe in you, people you believe in. Give people a chance. Naysayers can have very good inputs, but if it is consistent with not being productive, you're losing your peace of mind, just drop them. Life is too big to worry about such noise. Yeah. And the last one is, be the change you want to be. And this is from our dear Mahatma Gandhi. Walk the talk. Uh, Somebody, like a colleague, summarized my journey, but it's like any management book. You only write when you are successful. And this has been the simple 7 principles I have related to, believed in it. And for people who are on the call, people who work with me, probably some of you see this. And that is walk the talk. You become predictable if you start behaving, observing, conducting yourself. And Anita said earlier, right? It's not rocket science. Leadership is not rocket science. Leadership is all about walking the talk, being consistent, and having your core. I think she touched upon that. What is your core? What do you believe in? So, my core is transformation can happen at any level, any scale, provided personally you are grooming yourself to some of the simple principles I outlined. I hope I hope that helps connect the dots from morning.
Yep, sure. Yeah, thanks, Jane. I think you spoke about a lot of them, I'm sure, has struck a chord with the audience. And as you said, be the change. And always, as a leader, you try to model the behavior so that, and understand what are your core values and help people, figure out their values and live accordingly. So, with so many tips that you've just shared, if you could share a very recent example, maybe that comes to your mind so that we could see these in action. So, yeah,
Fair enough. I have many, many examples. One of my life goal is to write a book someday.
definitely you should do that.
Yeah, because it's all in my head and I never get the time to write it. But one very dear and something some of my peers in VMware, uh, my chain of command, my peers in IIT, they all are super proud. And the reason I say this is some of the members of that example are our dear colleagues on this Women Who Code core team who have been leading this way for many, many years. So I'm going to quote that example. So I came into the company about 3.5 years back. And my charter, working with the leadership team, with all of you, with the folks in US, was to create an identity which is relatable for the India side, structure a strategy which is connected to the corporate goals, expectations, and is at the weight class, a site which we claim to be the largest in the company can attribute itself to beyond just headcount growth. That was my simple charter. Remember, I said I joined without a JD?
Yeah.
So this is a classic example. What happened? Some of you who know, some of this is being discussed in public domain. We created a collaboration framework to get disparate teams, irrespective of level, ranks, cadre, to work as one team. And in the process, we created benchmarks and impact unheard of, both from an industry standpoint and VMware. Very proudly can say this is now becoming a template for collaboration. But guess what? That's not the story. The story is come pandemic and every company, every soul on the Mother Earth, when confronted where to go, Friday night, a bunch of passionate people you develop relations when you do such collaboration, cross functional work. You don't worry about rank and file then because hundreds of approval, finance, HR. We didn't have the liberty. Friday night, my dear friend Ramni, myself, Ram, a lot of folks got together saying, what can we do? Who is our nearest span of influence, friendship, connect we can pull in? Overnight, we created what was the COVID task force. A story which I will never forget, and people who were there will never forget. People who have benefited will never forget. And the reason I chose this story is we issued a purchase order in record time of 24 hours, unheard of in the industry. Today, it takes 8 weeks to approve a vendor, 3 weeks to issue a purchase order. We did it in 24 hours. 200 plus folks came together, this different cities, different towns came together to prepare the COVID manuals, which became a rage. Every company started using it without even knowing where it came from, right? And even before we decided to release it officially, whether even we're thinking it had already gone viral, right?
Yeah.
And you can have a big company, a strong culture, great team, fantastic culture. But this is a beautiful example of leadership where it matters. We don't know who was director, who was NCG, who was a security support team, who was a workplace team member when we put this together. And you know what we got? The blessings of every life we saved in last 2 years. This is leadership. This is change. This is transformation to me. And I have fantastic examples coming through the team in India. I'll take a day if I have to tell all the stories.
No, I think I can absolutely vouch for that because we've seen that in action within VMware, and as you said, there are a lot of people across different cities in India which who came across the work of the COVID task force and even the site strategy. I've seen you and some of the senior leaders in action over the last few years at VMware. The way you have created a cohort of people and given them the freedom to kind of emerge as the next set of leaders and drive it through, I think that is commendable as well. Yeah, so you've shared so many tips with us, and actually, you're coming to your the most important part, right? You've had a very rich experience, 30 plus years, and I have to call out it's multicultural, multi-geo, multi-generational, because that's another tough nut to crack. You How do you manage folks cutting across different because the expectations is different. So you've managed so many large-scale projects in very and transformative initiatives in challenging environments. Right. So, what are the key learnings or key takeaways that you would like to give to our audience today?
No, I'm considered a controversial leader. You know that, right?
Not that I know
But
of.
uh, uh, yeah, I think a bit I think a bit differently, and even if you cannot relate to some of these people on the call, bear with me. But somehow it has shaped me because sometimes I don't see that commonly demonstrated, and that has shaped me. Sometimes even the failures can help. I was talking about it earlier, and sometimes I see we are on leaders are on top of the hill.
Okay.
There is a company vision, mission, purpose statement, but then the policies, process, the governance, the structure. I've seen misalignment in 8 of the 10 cases, and pardon me if corporates on the call are want to contest this. I'm more than happy to discuss at length my research why I feel this way. First tip for all my friends on the call is whatever you do, have a conviction that it is going to work, or don't do it. Don't take up a role, don't take up an assignment, don't take up a project, don't put your head in if your heart and mind are not in sync. It looks very simple when I say it. It is very tough because the mind and the soul are always contradicting each other. But if you see that situation, don't do it. Don't take up that. Have the guts to say, I don't feel. When I say I'm controversial, what people don't see is for every successful project, there are three where I would have had a fight with somebody.
Yeah.
So have the conviction. Second, I think I touched upon it. Walk the talk because people look at you as a leader. Absorb it, conduct yourself, and create examples which people can relate to so that it doesn't feel like it is out of sync. Walk the talk. The same COVID task force, some of us, and I am very proud of those peer system I have, Shekhar, Renuka, Ram, Ramni, we were as sleepless for that month like the entire COVID task force, and that is leadership. That is walk the talk. Third, and I want to call this out, you will have naysayers. Every role I have taken, I have been told that Jayen, you will leave in the first month. Do you have a backup plan? Now, in hindsight, I can say boldly to all those leaders who hired me that some parts of the organization did tell me that, Jayen, do you have a backup plan? You are not going to live longer in this organization. All three roles I explained earlier. And my roles have been controversial. Transformation has never been easy. So you will always come across those folks where you will have haters and naysayers. Take, absorb, take the feedback, internalize it, work on it. Don't let it get to you. Otherwise, you will not take the next step. Yeah. Fourth, very, very important, and I have benefited. create what is called a board of directors for you. And this is could be your manager, could be your peers, could be even your team members, or could be people even outside of the organization. Anita did touch upon this a bit. I call them board of directors. These are the people you catch up over coffee. And if you are used to some of the colored waters, it's most welcome. I don't. But create that, talk to them. That is your support system. Ram touched upon it. Guru Bhatt, a great guy, great leader in my mind. You heard them talk in the CXO conclave in the morning. The benefits are immense. And last, which we typically don't do, we have created from childhood a sense of entitlement, rank and file system, top three meritorious. This is straight from the heart, right? We don't celebrate the way we should. We don't talk about stories the way we should. We don't know how to write stories as well. This is super critical as you grow as leaders. Celebrate, talk, write. Social media can have its benefits, but think, take help of experts. Don't try to do it yourself, but do not stop talking about what you believe is your pride. Let it be a clear line between bragging and pride. It's tough, but try, but right. Simple. This is my few final top steps.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jane. I think you beautifully summarized it. And as you mentioned, right, like even Anita did talk about it. Have your find your set of mentors. It could be inside or outside, and even I think another important aspect which Ranjini spoke about was find your values so that you can stand, fight for them, and that will be a guiding force for you as you plan your career as well. So we do have, meanwhile, we do have one question. You did touch upon it a little while ago, but I think they want some more focus on how do you really handle the noise, or let's say the naysayers that you may find as you navigate your, through a change.
Beautiful. Whoever asked is great. I knew that was coming because that is the toughest part in the 5 pointers I gave you. Contest it with data, contest it with intelligence, not with smartness. So whenever you hear noise, say you will get back, or sometimes you don't even have to say. Get your facts in order, collect some more data, take feedbacks, synthesize and analyze that, present it in a way which is not considered as a contest, but as a professional way to get clarity on the problems you are trying to surface, solutions which you want to propose, and the impact the proposed solution will have. That has worked miraculously well for me all through my 3+ decades. That is how you cut the noise. I just don't say, don't stop talking to that person, because some of the best feedback you can get from people who you are not too friendly with. So don't try to create this yes men's around you. It's the other side of the story. In interest of time, I didn't touch upon it, but it is implied that don't always surround yourself with yes people. It may not shape your career that well.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Ayn. I think that's beautifully put. And I really like the new term that you've coined, board of directors. So yeah, I'm going to do some more thinking on that. And yeah, thanks again. And over to you, Deepthi.
Hey, thank you, Jayen. Thank you, Samanvitha. It was awesome. I think I noted on a lot of things, Jayen, while you're talking. Change is a campaign and not a decision. Uh, Thank you for have spending your time with us.
My pleasure. I couldn't take so many questions, but somebody can drop my email in the chat. Please feel free to reach out. And more than happy to shape or help any way I can. Thank you so much. And last bit of thanks to all my dear friends Shweta, Ranjani, Ramya, Sanvita. I don't know for how many years you have been bearing this torch, and every year I see a fantastic level change in what you do, what you offer. And I hope all the people who have taken time today see the value. So thank you very much, and thanks for everybody joining in.
Thank you.